Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different and run you through the Blossom design from the Neotech Canva template pack and just run you through the processes I went through to create this and hopefully give you a little inspiration in your designs so you can make something similar and hopefully learn a thing or two on how to design better in Canva. So when I'm running through this, it's going to be a complete recreation from start to finish. So a couple of the elements are going to be changed and a few things are going to be different because the original did take me a few hours to create. But all of the key elements and features are there, so I can demonstrate a few things that you might not know you can do in Canva, and we can all have a cool design by the end of it. So I hope you enjoy the video and let's get right into the demonstration. Alright, let's dive right in. So to begin with, obviously we've got the cherry blossoms. This is the picture I used on the actual design, so I thought I'd just use it again. Pretty easy if you just type in cherry blossoms. You'll get loads of amazing pictures because a lot of this stuff comes from Unsplashed, which is a royalty-free site, so all of these pictures are good to use in designs, etc. But you want something that's either really good, if you're doing a poster like mine, you want something that's good vertically, so you have something to remove the background with later so it pops out of the frame. So here we're just going to curve the edges and put a border around it, and I like to do a 3D effect on the borders just to make it stand out a little bit more. So what you'll see me do here is duplicate it and then get a second border and just like phase it up slightly so it's resting on top of the other one, so it gives that 3D look. So now that you have that, we're going to copy it again. We're going to take all of the borders off, and then we're just going to bring it up and remove the background. So now it's popping out of the frame, and you just need to kind of bring it in so it's in the frame a little bit more. Don't worry if it's blurry to begin with, that's just it processing. And if you see in the top right there's a little bit that's still squaring off. So I'm just going to raise up the borders so it looks cleaner in the final result. And now it looks like it is coming out the screen, so that's going to be the main subject, and we're going to put the text in above that, and that's going to go on the top behind the blossoms to make it stand out even more. So just scale it to size. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the frames. We're just going to duplicate it to give it that 3D effect. It will look better later when we add the textures, but for now just do that. And remember to group your stuff up just so everything's clean and it looks professional. And there we go, that's the main part done. So now we're just going to add in another black shape that blends into the background. It's good to use solid colors with designs like these so everything fits in pretty seamlessly. You don't want to be messing around with gradients and stuff because then it gets a little bit messy. And we're just going to put that behind the text, so now it looks like the text is sinking into the frame a little bit. And you can move these around obviously to fit whatever design you're trying to make and just get it to a level where you feel that it looks best, which is what graphic design's all about, just trying to make what you want to make and making it look fabulous. So now that we've done all that, what I did in the original design was I added in another little box on the side to emphasize more cutouts and to add more images in later on when we get to that point. So here I am just shaping it up, ready to put on the side. It took me a while, so I just cut it. Remember to put the elbow on the lines. So now, after you've got it to where you want it to go, you just put another black shape in and then just put it behind the lines, and now it pops out a little bit. And don't be scared if the corners are a little bit rugged. You can usually just put another shape behind it and then it will sort itself out like I'm doing here. There we go. And it looks pretty good, all things considered. So now we're getting on to the aesthetic element. So I tend towards a brutalist style in my designs, which is kind of grid shapes that don't conform to any sort of fluid design, and it's more very structured and rigid. But honestly, put whatever pattern, shapes, illustrations, whatever you have going. But if you want to follow along, I'm using the brutalist star. duplicating it, turning it upside down, and then putting them together. And then it still looks a little bit flat, so I'm putting these parallelograms, I think that's what they're called, either side, and remembering to put the pink layer below all of the objects I'm using so the 3D effect doesn't lose its magic, because if you're only doing the 3D part on the frame and not everything else, the image will look flat on the outside and 3D in the middle, and that is not a good look for any type of posters unless you're trying to do something experimental, which may look good, but for me personally it's either all or nothing. So either everything has a shadow or nothing has a shadow, and in this design we're adding shadows to everything. So now we're putting arrows in to emphasize that border brutalist kind of style that I'm going for. These I didn't add the shadow to yet, but later on in the video I will be adding shadows to everything. I just wanted to get the base design down first, because obviously I'm recreating the original piece, so I didn't know what other elements I'll be putting in. And it's kind of a good practice to do this, because if you're removing elements etc, you don't want to be removing the elements and their shadows, you know. So here I am just putting in bits and pieces just to show you where to get some stuff. If you're looking for any of these shapes, just look up at the search and everything should fall into place. So I use a lot of brutalist stuff obviously, so if you just do brutalist and then an adjective, it will usually get you what you want. So here we have brutalist symbol, brutalist arrow, brutalist shape, brutalist star, brutalist stamp. So Canva has really good pre-made templates for stamps and signs and signatures, and one I really like using is called Brutalist Activism, which is really weird. I stumbled upon this, but it works really well if you want a lot of the best high quality ones of these. So here we are, we're just going to stack a few together. In the original I did create my own one, but these are always good if you just want to make a quick design. Some of these will look better than others, but obviously just pick your preference. So now that we have that in, what we're looking for now is just to get some more elements to fill in the space. So brutalism also works with Y2K elements, so I do tend to overlap the two. Y2K aesthetic elements is one that I use a lot because it gives you a lot of very, don't know what the word is. It gives you a lot of very fine shapes that work quite well in this style, because you don't want too many bold elements and too many fine elements, or otherwise they'll start crowding each other out. You want a blend of both, because the dynamic tension between the two is better on the eyes. So now that we have the main elements, I'm just putting in some text. I literally googled cherry blossom definition just for this example. And we're putting it in Helvetica because I just love Helvetica. It's one of my favorite fonts. Out of Helvetica, Serif, Garamond, whatever you want to use for your like OG fonts, if you would. But honestly, just go with whatever. And we're putting the 3D underneath this as well, so everything has the effect. So overall, it's a pretty easy design to do. But if you want to make it really pop, then you would spend more time on your shape placement and where you're putting bits and pieces, but this is just a quick example, so I'm just doing the first things I see really. Here I am just adding the rest of the 3D to all of the elements, and then we will get on to lighting and textures, which are a key part of what separates professional posters and graphic designs from amateur graphic designs, because without lighting and texture it will just look flat. Like we have the 3D right now, but it still looks pretty flat, but the textures just take it to a next level. So here I am, this is going to be the background texture. I like using plastics because they give a nice grainy touch. And see here at the top where we put that black box in, it's covering up the plastic a little bit, so I'm just going to shrink that down so it's not too obvious. If I was doing this properly, I'd probably create another plastic layer, but now it looks a little bit more cohesive. If you want to, you can change the transparencies around if you don't want it as bold as we have here. So now I'm putting in a lighting ring around the blossoms to make them stand out even more, because they are the main piece of this design. And I'm changing the transparency a little bit so they just pop out in your face a little bit more if you're somebody looking at this design for the first time. And then we're putting in some more lighting. So I always like lens flares. I always think they add a nice touch. If I was going to go back and do this again, I probably would have gone for a white lens flare, but it's okay. So we put a white one at the bottom anyway. And now it just looks a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more alive. And then for the final texture, we're just putting over a little bit of grain. So yeah, that's kind of how I made the original Blossom design. Obviously this is a little bit more rough and drafted, but I think you get the idea. And yeah, I hope you've learned something. Well, this is the final product. It looks pretty similar to the original. Obviously the original looks better because I spent more time on it. But if you guys want to check out the Neotech Canva pack, then go to my website. There'll be a link in my bio, or you can go to the description. And yeah, check it out. I've got a few freebies on my site as well, so if you want to pick up a few of my designs for free, then definitely check it out. But anyway, I hope you've learned something and enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.